Okay, so hi guys, welcome today on this special
Special
episode
episode
of
of
Inner
Inner
Flights.
Flights.
Uh, my voice is echoing. Yeah, it's better now. So yeah, also guys who are watching us on YouTube, welcome, welcome, welcome. There's no script today, and nor is there any topic. We'll see where we fly. So Inner Flights was not created recently uh, because we can't fly outside, so we thought about let's fly inside. It's been running parallelly uh, with Temple Pilots, and for me personally it's been uh, my highest aspiration to understand the nature of life, understand who we truly are. And nobody talks about these things. And at Temple Pilots, in the evenings, it used to be that we used to have some interesting conversations exploring, our being. So from there, we thought like, let's talk about some stuff that we can all, benefit from and share. And that's where and how the idea was born about inner flights. So I'll just start it, just share some views, and then we see where we fly from there. So yeah, like I mentioned in my little write up on the club page, that a situation like this uh, has never happened before, where uh, globally we are challenged as a humanity, and it's also kind of a personal challenge for all of us. And I think in some way something is asking us to stop and pause and kind of ponder and relook at things. And interestingly, I'd like to share that for me it has been very interesting to explore the being aspect of my consciousness. So we live at the mental level, where we have aspirations, we have our desires and fears, and we live our lives. We have a certain past, we are here now, and we are kind of moving towards some kind of a future. And in fact, the majority of humanity on the planet has been living like that. I would say one dimensional life, uh, moving from the past to the present and moving towards the future. uh, Very little has been explored uh, of another dimension, which is very much an aspect of us, which is the being aspect of us, uh, which is I would say, like, if the normal dimension is horizontal, this is kind of a vertical dimension of who we truly and really are. Uh, we have realized, like how we live our lives, we aspire for certain things, but nothing truly really gives us kind of true satisfaction. We jump from one desire to the other. We feel happiness and satisfaction for small duration, but it is quite elusive. And we go on and on like this. And it has been quite revealing to me that what we have overlooked is a deeper dimension of our consciousness, which is our being. By that I mean our truer self, which is always there, uh, just below, or you can say above, the surface mind. We are quite caught up with our mental activities, and it engages us quite incessantly. And we do not kind of look at this deeper dimension of who we truly are. And unless we find who we truly are, this surface living of looking for happiness and satisfaction in a person, in a relationship, in achievements, will always be elusive. It, of course, things will give us some happiness and some satisfaction for a certain time, but soon, like again will be challenged. The life itself actually is, designed to kind of challenge us, and that's what we see, today also. You will achieve something, you'll feel happy for a while, but then again, you look for something else, and then you kind of caught at that, horizontal dimension. What I mean by vertical dimension is consciousness, or our true nature, our pure being. So I'd like to kind of invite everyone's attention in exploring, this aspect. A few more things I would like to share and say that this awareness in which we are able to see our thoughts, we're able to see our feelings, our emotions, is an aspect that underlies, all our experiences. I don't know how many, pilots here are into exploring this aspect of life. If you, do some kind of meditation, or you, listen to the contemporary beings like Eckhart Tolle, or, Muji, or Deshanti, or Sadhguru, or, whoever. And throughout ages, we have been kind of, pointed towards this. If you see in our country, especially in this land, where a lot of exploration has happened inwards. And I think today, the final frontier for humanity is consciousness. And I was just watching another, something on Netflix about consciousness. And I was listening to these some neuroscientists and other people who are exploring consciousness, and that how dumbfounded they are, in exploring consciousness. So science has been is looking out to measure things, and consciousness you cannot measure. So this is kind of the final frontier, where I feel is also the need of the hour, where we will probably begin to realize our oneness that actually unites all of humanity. We have been operating as separate beings because we are operating at the horizontal level by the egoic mind as a person, and we have not explored the vertical dimension, which is more primal, the consciousness aspect of our being, which actually shows us that we are actually one. The superficial differences of body and mind and experience are one thing, one aspect, but at a deeper level, we are all one. And there have been beings, in our past, like the Buddha and Christ and Krishna, and the beings who have, tried to communicate this. And today, I think this is readily available for each one to explore. One doesn't need to go to a monastery or to the mountains. I feel while doing whatever you're doing, you can explore this aspect of your being. And it just can begin by simply beginning to look as to what is going on with your mind. What are the predominant aspects of your mind? What are you looking for? Or what your mind is doing? Or where is it, suggesting you to go, etc. Just a bit of an awareness, kind of, or moments of, if you see like moments of happiness or moments of joy, if you reflect in your life, will be moments where the mind is not really operational. When you are in the outdoors and you see a magnificent kind of sunset, for example, you go, oh wow, or you meet somebody you love, you meet a friend and you say, oh wow, like mind is not working there. And that is kind of a little insight or an exposure into a vertical dimension of our pure being. And this is forever available. This is directly and immediately available all the time. I can Do a little experiment right away with everyone here. You know, just this silence between my words when I finish a sentence and before I go to another sentence, this silence, which you can experience so directly, is consciousness. And this consciousness is who we truly are. We have been living, identifying mentally to our body and the mental identification. But if you just have a few quiet moments, you get a taste of who we truly are. And yes, so so Anita was showing me the topic of today's talk was about awakenings from Corona. So yeah, I think I flew away and may have gone far. So I think I'll take a pause and let's chat. If somebody would like to say something, or we can go in this direction, or somebody wants to share if it makes sense what I'm saying, or where are we?
Sir, I just would like to say something.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say that it takes a lot of courage and a lot of faith for anybody to host a meeting like this. And I know you are absolutely capable of doing it, but I'm just saying it because it needs to be said. I'm actually not a very extrovert person, but I just thought I might hear something from you once I say something here that might help me. So I am a person who's, driven a lot by fear, basically. That's shortcoming in my life. I mean, I'm driven a lot by faith. For instance, the first time I did the soaring with Jitu sir, I was shit scared, I don't know what I was feeling that time. I just wanted to come down. But he said, okay, enjoy, just keep flying, just go higher and higher. And so it's like I came down and then I realized I didn't enjoy that flight. It was that fear it was something, whether this nylon, whether these strings might break, or maybe the harness might, flip on one side and I might be hanging and then the whole thing will collapse. 101 things. So it's maybe because it's because of ignorance or lack of complete knowledge. I don't know, but I mean, there are 100 other people flying. I should think, they're also flying. Why should I just crash and come down? So this is something which has been on my mind.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob. And it comes to my mind, like when I was doing, one of my earlier flights, I had taken off from Bijli Mahadev when I was really high, and I had exactly the same thoughts. You know, I had exactly the same thoughts that I was used to flying aircrafts, and I was used to being in a machine made of metal and an engine, and then hanging under these, just like you said, hanging under these lines and a cloth. I thought, oh my God, like what if it breaks? I'll fall there. But yes, I mean, it is. Mind is doing its job. It's a wonderful thing. It's not experienced this before. It's informing you of how it is feeling, and I'm sure it reduced, the mind chatter reduced when you went on to do your second flight and the third flight and the next flight. And we talk about this in our courses as well, that the lower mind, which is responsible for our survival, it is kind of acting. And the chemicals are being released and is going little berserk and giving thoughts like, oh my God, if I fall from here. And these thoughts have a consequent feeling and emotion attached to them. And these feeling and emotion then generate more thoughts of that nature. And then that generates more feelings like this. And we get kind of caught in a vicious kind of a cycle. And the moment you do, the whole cycle is broken. And that's why we teach also students, on takeoff when you feel nervous or any time in your life, take one conscious breath. Whew. And you've broken the cycle already. It is not fact. We are not falling. Nothing is going wrong. It is all in imagination. It is a narrative of the mind because of its ignorance. You're right. We don't have to believe it. Like we take a deep breath. Oh, reality is what? Reality is I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm sitting in a harness. It's fine. I'm living. Okay, it's not so bad. It's okay. It's okay. So I kind of not allow the mind to dominate me, and I slowly learn to do this. And I am kind of becoming slowly the dominant factor here. My being is becoming a dominant factor on the mind's narrative, and this is how pilots progress and learn to manage the mind, learn to manage emotions, learn to manage fear. So we would not ask you to deny fear or suppress it, but let it be. Take a deep breath, take another deep breath, break the cycle of this narrative, and get in touch with the reality. Like we say, come to your senses, which means come to the reality of the now moment, of the present moment. See what's actually happening. Actually, I'm not falling down. Actually, the lines are not breaking. Actually, the fabric is holding. Actually, it's okay. And you will see this in real life also. It is the mind's narrative that keeps taking us for a ride because we've been habituated. We are living, under the hypnosis of the mind because we've never questioned it. So once we question it, we break the cycle and we say, is this really true? What is being suggested? I don't think it's helping me. I don't think these thoughts are serving me in any way. Thank you very much. Come in touch with the reality, what you are perceiving, what is happening right now, right here. And you see, mostly it's okay. It's okay unless it's an emergency. It's all fine. It's all okay. So I'm kind of now learning to dominate this incessant narrative of the mind. And slowly with practice, again, you can do it in your daily life. Begin to watch these thoughts, like if you can see one thought coming and you observed it and it's dissipated and say, aha, okay, I, I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to believe that thought either. I can question it. Is it serving me? And this is how I free myself. And I begin to come into my awareness presence where mind becomes a tool that I use that helps me rather than dominates me and gives me all these negative emotions, gives me fear, which is not serving me in any way. So this is what comes to me to share. Jacob, I hope that helped.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. So yeah. Hi Ritu. You're muted, by the way. So let's chat with Ritu now.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Now, okay, we lost you again.
Is it?
Oh, yes. Yeah, your line got cut.
Okay. No, I said I'm sorry. I was late.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
I was 15 minutes late.
Oh, no problem. So how's it going with you? Would you like to share something from these past few months? Something, some awakening, some learning you want to share? Sorry, I just put you in a spot like this. So I think like for some of us, it's been a blessing as well. We never got to, like especially for Anita and me, it was a huge wow. For the first time, we're not packing our bags every week. Like weekend is coming, Thursday we pack our bags, we move. We are back on Monday again. We are packing, like we are, living in our suitcases. But for the first time, we got some time to ourselves. It's been really a blessing, and it's been really beautiful. Anita got to, uh, she's quite a brave heart in terms of experimenting with food and trying new stuff. Uh, and that gave me an opportunity. I've never lived at home. I was, in hostel from class one, and then the defense, and then traveling around, everywhere, and then a lifestyle which is very outdoorsy. So I never really spent home time. So this was very new. I learned so many new things. I even made chapatis, 2 days back. I made bread, and
Good.
doing dishes has become a kind of a zen thing for me.
Yeah.
So, and of course, uh, watching the mind is so interesting. It's my favorite book nowadays. So I'd like to invite, if you like, have any kind of questions in what I was, sharing before, or you want to share something uh, with everyone, or I can take off again.
Give me some time.
Yeah, easy.
So I will
Sure.
let me, because just it was
You,
just
we know you're painting and all, and I'm sure you're getting some time for painting because we
no,
see
not
these
at all.
paintings
I'm
on
not
Facebook,
painting at all right
and
now.
they're really amazing.
I'm actually getting I'm healing myself from inside. That's the only thing I'm doing. So right now, like as you said, it's washing dishes is a zen thing. It's actually happening with me also. Now I think if my maid takes a week off, I won't like be pulling my hair, and I'm quite at peace with myself. I can do things at my pace, and that's the best part about, I think, being locked down.
Atmanirbharta.
Atmanirbharta. That's true. So painting is not happening. That's the only thing. Maybe, but yes, the process is on. The churning is happening inside. Something new is going to come up, I'm sure, because there are many visions happening inside, which is giving me to do the theme-based paintings. So I think everybody in their own field, they are doing their thinking. Their thinking cap is on. They're thinking about whatever gives them pleasure or satisfaction. And like painting is meditation for me. So I'm right now maybe not sitting with brush and canvas, but my mind is busy mapping
Nice.
and pouring.
Nice. So Shabad, I'm gonna attack you next. So you got a lot of time, to yourself, I think, in the lockdown. It would be interesting to know, like, what was going on in your head out there.
A bunch of things, but if you, I don't know, it's become some things are tangible, but I don't have the vocabulary for it. That's the truth, really. I can maybe relate to things that you're saying or ma'am is saying in a different way.
Yeah.
I still, actually, I think because of the general slowing down, firstly, I realized that I'm generally slow. Now I don't have to fake it. Okay. So I've accepted that I'm, so no, but jokes aside, it's just that I still, I don't think I have the vocabulary for it, and it's not bothering me. Normally, I'm the kind, if I can't, I mean, I'm restless if I get latched onto something, but I've been able to make some peace with being restless. So, in a good way. I mean, I can identify with it. At the same time, it's okay if I can't. It's been very interesting. It's been very humbling. Actually, it's been very humbling. That's the.
I'll agree with you.
That's the. I mean, nothing is in anybody's control, really. And considering, like you said, being flying aircraft, it has so much power. Just being part of that process, and to be, I mean, it's just some kind of an association that we have. that you tend to put it on. I at least am at rest with the kind of prayer or energy I go to fly with, and I have now. If I look back at it, I don't feel like a pompous fool. I'm kind of content with the fact that I've been doing it okay. But yeah, it's been a real blessing. And like we had this earlier, I also think it's a real privilege that most of us have the chance to sit and think of it. There are a lot of people who don't have that opportunity. It's about ends meeting for them. So yeah, you can't help anybody. So yeah, it's been very humbling.
Yeah, it's
Also, also the other thing is that I find that even if I want to explain it, if I'm being honest to myself right now, I'm okay with not talking. A little more. I've given myself an exercise without knowing it of probably thinking if I can listen a little more than talk. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of things. It's a lot of, it's
Yeah.
catch and
Yeah.
release, catch and release.
Yeah.
And I spoke to you about this earlier. So like
Yeah.
I can associate to things that you're saying, but we all have a tendency. And yes, it is. I don't have, let me come back to it. I still don't have a way to, I don't have a way to say it.
Yeah. I think Ritu was saying something as well about the humbling part, I think.
Yeah, I agree to what he said, that this thing has made you more humble. You like Kabir always teaches me at some point of or the other. So this Kabir's one doha that says about ऋतु आए फल होए, माली सींचे 100 घड़े पर ऋतु आए फल होए. तो मतलब you have to be patient. So it is not that you keep doing your work. You have to, and this thing is changing everyone. Some are getting impatient, but I feel some are blessed that they are getting peace within themselves. So
Yes.
as it is, I'm very tight with words, so I can only talk in colors. So you don't ask me much to describe in color words. I can show you paintings and you can understand that.
I can relate to that.
Actually,
yeah, I mean,
actually,
yeah.
ma'am, that sums it up. There, with this whole process, the expression through colors or thoughts is way more clear than words. This is what I feel very often now. That with the words, it kind of loses its. I can never explain it to you if I use words, but if you show it to me, that association is stronger. I feel more elemental.
I think I'm good in that, so I will agree with you.
So yeah, I mean, it's. I hope, like for most, like it's been a humbling experience because nobody expected, something like this can happen, and people are losing lives, and you realize, how little you're in control, and somehow this realization that you're not in control can be liberating, and it can be scary for some people. Well, if you trust and you have the patience and you're able to step out, the egoic mind, it will be very liberating that you're not in control, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing because again, coming back to like living with the mind, where you're strategizing, you're making your plans, and then of course it never works out the way you want it, and it does work out a bit, and then it doesn't work, and there are constant strife and struggle of satisfaction and dissatisfactions. But surrendering and or realizing that you're not in control here kind of releases a huge burden from people. uh, we live in one world, we live on one planet, but there are million worlds. So each of us is living in its own world, which is very unique, to each one of us. At the same time, these worlds are interacting, like our worlds are interacting and influencing and affecting. At the same time, they are very unique in themselves. And this is how we contribute to the collective. And that is why, it is so important to meet like this, to collectively, have an effect in a positive way. Because there is also, a very negative kind of aspect to the collective consciousness of humanity, which is influencing the collective as a whole. And it is important that the positive aspect is there as well, to influence or counter that. Maybe at least like 10% of humanity is opening to a new dimension of consciousness within them, and stepping out, of the prison of the mind, where you want to be in control. And that's what we've learned, actually. That's how we always live. You want this and you want that, and then you go after it and you have to get it, and it's a very tiring way, and people burn out, and when they don't achieve, and they kind of lose it. They even commit suicide and stuff like that. So never really getting in touch with the vertical aspect, or the pure being, who we truly are, which I keep pointing to, like the silence that you taste when maybe you're painting, or you're by yourself looking at a scenery, or when the mind is not working.
Or you're tricking.
Yeah,
Or you're paragliding.
yeah, exactly. Those moments when mind is not really in operation, and these are liberating moments.
Yeah.
And if we can only begin to spend some more time in abiding in these gaps between thoughts, or abiding in our true being, not engaging in the mental activity, we are actually increasing our power. We are actually accessing a deeper dimension of consciousness, which is pure beingness, which is always here, which is always available, directly available, right now, here and now. And this is what people like Eckhart are talking about, the present moment.
Yeah.
Like I said a little while ago, you catch yourself, just catch yourself. Oh my God, I've taken off. Come back here. It's fine. It's okay. It's I'm alive. Just being alive is such a blessing, just to be alive, to be able to see this, to be able to see this magnificent creation of, the divine. It's beautiful just to be simply alive. Just take a breath. Oh, I'm here, and it's fine. So just to just keep breaking this hypnotic trance of the mind, and just keep coming back to the present moment, which also means coming back to yourself, will change, will change, create a kind of a spaciousness in you, and will change the dynamics between your relationship with your mind, where you are more dominant factor than the mind dominating you with its demands. Because the mind takes up a lot from the collective, and there's a lot of negativity. There'll be thoughts coming to you, don't even know like where are they coming from, and they are not your thoughts. So to be able to begin to discern and not pay attention to thoughts too much, and begin to realize one's freedom, that here everything is okay, everything is fine with me. Actually, my pure beingness, my pure consciousness is not contaminated by the contents of the mind or contents of consciousness. It's nothing can touch who you truly are. No experience can contaminate who you truly are. But not just intellectually understanding this, but to experience this and practice this in daily life. And then we not only change our world, which becomes, of course, more peaceful, more joyful as you're experiencing, because you got to spend some time with yourself. There's a natural kind of loving feeling for others. This is your natural aspects of pure consciousness, and these come forth when you spend more time in silence, when you spend more time with yourself. You transform your world. What you manifest, what you create, you directly see, and like this we change the world. by changing what's happening here, because it works from inside outwards. We have tried like changing circumstances on the outside and patching it and trying to keep it all together, and it all falls apart. It will. It is designed actually in such a way. You cannot have a good time and a great time and wow time, and it can't keep going because it's bound to change. It has to change. The pendulum has to go the other way, because this world on the horizontal is polarized. The good and bad has to come and play their role. But there is an aspect in your pure being which is not affected by the polarities. The pure consciousness as your true being, which I'm talking about, is not affected by what is happening on the surface play of life. The silence that you experience right now, this very silence which you experience right now when I finish a sentence, this is your pure nature of pure consciousness. It is not male or female. It is not young or old, and it has no boundary or limitation. But we have never looked, and it's right here, right now. It's not a future happening. That's all in the mind. But to begin to observe the mind and begin to realize my pure consciousness is the biggest miracle, I would say. It is the highest attainment, I would say, in the human kingdom, to begin to realize who we truly and really are. And to then begin to live from there is a life that is beautiful and divine and miraculous. Because ego means a sense of lack, a sense of deficiency. I am not good enough. I need to do something to, make myself something. These are the thoughts we have believed, and they run the show, actually. We never question these thoughts. As a pure being, you lack nothing. You are complete and pure, and there's no deficiency of any sort. So when you realize who you truly are, you get this peace and calm. And when you operate from there, a different creativity happens, a different manifestation happens, because it's happening from a place of freedom, a place of sufficiency, a place of not lacking anything. And what you then create has a different flavor to it. So not that you do something and then you feel happy, or you get a sense of satisfaction, but you work from a place of satisfaction. You operate from a sense of fulfillment, and then what comes from you, through you, has a different quality. You are in real time with the universe. You are the voice of the universe itself. You access universal intelligence and function like that. And that comes with like little observation, little realization that, oh, I'm not in kind of control here. And I begin to watch, how the mind is operating here. I think that's the most liberating thing one can come upon when one just begins to watch, the movement of the mind and what it is up to. I think that's the first and the big leap towards freedom and liberation. So yeah, I took off again. Hi, Achin. Hi, Bhavin.
Hi.
You guys want to share something, Bhavin?
Something about what? Like,
Just generally, like you just became a teacher. So just to share with everyone, Bhavin was my student when I was a teacher in Krishnamurti Foundation School. And he was a student. We used to play basketball together. And then he came flying, and now he's teaching in one of the Krishnamurti schools. So yeah, I mean, I would be interested to listen to your little experience. How's it going?
It's going fantastic. So I could relate to a lot of what you were saying, and a few questions came to me while you were speaking. You spoke about the you realizing or the you realizing the real nature of you. I mean, there were two yous in that sentence. So I was just thinking, which is, which is the real you? Is there a you, as in, is there a you that sees the other you, or is it, is that a duality, or is it just one? Was something I was.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting question. So it can be, seen from different, standpoints. But I would say the best example I can give is from the dream state. So there's an aspect of you when you have a dream that is purely observing the whole dream. So when you wake up, you know that, okay, I saw the whole dream. And there's an aspect of you that is participating in the dream, doing the actions. Can you relate to that?
Sometimes I'm so in the dream. I wouldn't be able to, but
in the hindsight, you know that you are actually not doing anything. You are observing, right?
Possibly, I'm not sure.
Because you remember the whole thing. There's an aspect of you that is observing whatever is going on. You talking to that person, and then you running, and then you doing whatever you're doing. So the self has an aspect that is absolutely still and pure awareness, and then there is a dynamic aspect to the same self. Okay, so it is also like the universe. You see that that if you imagine the space that is there, and like there's just such absoluteness, that there's a stillness of space that holds everything. There's an absoluteness which is like kind of meditative, like the whole universe is in meditation. It's deep and quiet and profound, like, and at the same time it has an aspect which is constantly creating, like from fish to plant life to animal life to human life, and it's constantly freaking out, creating, all the time. So it has an aspect that is unmanifest, unknown, and it has an aspect that is known and that is creative and that is seen. Exactly in the same way, we have an aspect that is pure awareness, which is not participating in whatever is going on. Okay, and there's a dynamic aspect to the self which is kind of participating. So from one standpoint, you can say it seems like dual, but actually not. There is a dynamic aspect to the still self. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So let me try to explain more. So there's an aspect of you, like you remember, when you were a child. Okay, there's a sense of self, and then there's this body which is of a young boy, and you remember, your consciousness at that time, you used to think of these things and that thing, and then you grow up, the body's grown up, the mind has changed, feelings are changing, but you can relate to something that is not changing, that is simply aware of whatever may be going on. When the body was small and the mind was working like this, when you're middle age or old, so there's clearly an aspect where it doesn't change, which is simply aware of whatever is going on. and at the same time there is an aspect that is, which is participating, so to say, in the dynamic aspect of your being. So what happens is that true balance or an enlightened realization is that the pure self, your true self, is not affected by this play. The universe, it's creating everything out of its own source and is not getting affected by it at all. There's no gain or loss to the absolute through whatever it is creating. So through the experience that you are going through to pure consciousness, there is no gain or loss or increase or decrease. But at the dynamic aspect, there is an evolution going. You're improving in certain way. You're getting better at understanding things, and you're experiencing this way and that way. So there's an evolution happening, but there's an aspect, your deeper aspect is not getting affected at all. It stays. So when you realize that deeper aspect, your deeper I, then you stop to see the duality, so to say. It's just a play, like there's no gain or loss through you. It becomes a playful thing, a joyful thing. Okay. But when you don't know your deeper aspect and you're totally engrossed in the game, thinking this is the only reality, then you're getting better left and right and thinking this is it and I'm going to get jacked now. Or wow, I'm so happy I've achieved it, I made it. Or now I'm ruined, So this is just the surface aspect that you are now identifying with only. But when you explore a deeper aspect of you and you realize the deeper aspect of you, which is pure consciousness, then the surface play is joyful for you. I mean, of course, you feel good and bad, this and that, but it doesn't really touch you. It's like writing on water. And a very layman example would be, the ocean. There are waves on the ocean, and but deeper ocean is not affected by the waves and all. But if you're on the surface, you're getting better. You're going up and down and la 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 la. So there's a still deep aspect to you, which is not affected by whatever maybe you're experiencing. And there's a dynamic aspect of you. So the dynamic aspect, like you have a tragedy in life, you lose your partner, or you have something, and it's designed in such a way to wake you up to your true nature. It is designed to send us deep to explore who we truly are and become more conscious. So whole effort of the whole manifestation is to become more and more conscious. That's the movement of life, to become more conscious. Before humans were there, I mean, the consciousness hadn't evolved so much, but now we can be self-aware. We have the potential to be self-aware. So when we realize that deeper aspect of us, then we know the unity of life, that, oh, it's only one consciousness everywhere. And then a person who's, realizes her deeper self cannot, do wrong things because he knows like he's harming himself or herself by harming the other. But humanity so far has been living thinking that the surface is it. And they think I'm a separate entity. And now how can I exploit the other? And this is what you see, the wars that are taking place on the planet. And exploitation of exploitation of another human being, which is so rampant and all around you, is because we don't know our deeper selves. But if we do know, the whole way we live will change because we realize our essential oneness. We cannot, harm the other or not love the other, for example. So this is the movement, which is actually now humanity is moving towards. This is where we are being pushed to actually to explore this aspect of our lives, a deeper aspect of consciousness of our pure being than just the surface aspect, the egoic surface self. We've seen the results on the planet as well. But the deeper aspect, which is rare to explore, that is now coming forth more. Of course, 90% of the humanity is not interested in this, but it is this that will bring the next, change on the planet, truly a change, where we start to live from our essential oneness. We don't forget our essential oneness. So our deepest self will open our eyes to our essential oneness. So does this make sense now?
Yeah. I still have a few questions, but I mean, I'd
No,
like to
sure.
hear others also. I mean, others can also.
So be
jump
ready
in.
with your question, and if somebody doesn't come, then we ask you.
Yeah.
Avi, how are you?
Yeah. Hey, good man. Hi, Kaisar.
As we talk about collective consciousness, there is a very famous psychologist called Carl Jung.
Carl Jung, yeah.
Yeah, he talked about collective unconsciousness also. We are all aware about it, right?
Yes,
Collective unconsciousness.
Yes.
According to him, this exists everywhere, and we are not really aware of it. As a child, you are aware of it, but as you start growing up and you develop your ego, you start losing memory of it. And then you become the ego and you forget the unconsciousness which you had collectively. It's pretty deep-rooted thought that, the humanity is collectively together somewhere, somehow. Yeah, and it is in a way, because there are same fears what we experience everywhere, same happiness. You see a beautiful, sun or moon or the sunset, you have the same feeling which every human being feels everywhere around the world. They may not know each other. You see clouds, those red and yellow clouds or the blue sky. You see the waterfalls, you see the birds. You have the same, but you're not aware of it. This is unconsciously, you're collectively enjoying the same feelings which every other human being feels in most of the way. You have the same fears, even the child has the same fears what you have. He may not even know, what will happen, if he falls from a very, deep, great height. But he will not go to that age, because he knows somehow inside, okay, this is not safe for him. Same way the fire, the water and all that. Nobody teaches many things to everybody, but we know them by heart. And how do they come? Because it's a collective human knowledge. It's a collective learning for generations and generations. It is imprinted in our DNA somehow. And we are not aware of it. That's why it is called collective unconsciousness. Somehow we are aware of it, but we can't express it. And that's why it is called unconsciousness. I mean, this is something I came to read about, so I thought I should share that.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is what we can see in the world today. Like when a group of people decide to attack somewhere, that's a collective unconsciousness. They are not conscious of what they are actually doing. A conscious person will not participate in such activities. Some people, like if they are weak, they will identify with something, and they get a sense of belongingness, and they will be influenced, like we have seen in the past, like how some individuals, you can take an example of Hitler or whoever, they can influence the collective and then cause mass destruction even. But if you see, like from 50 years before, or 100 years or 200 years, 300 years, there is a slow progress. And the beautiful thing is like that if I get like fully enlightened, it's not good enough, because I'm still part of the collective consciousness, and I will be pulled, and it is a beautiful thing, because the divine ones would not leave even one child behind. So it is concerned with every being on the planet. So there's a beauty in this as well, that we go together, and that is why I would say it is so beautiful that we come together like this and to make a difference. Because as you see all around you, you see in the news, you see what is happening globally, people acting unconsciously. If they really knew who they are, if they really knew the essential oneness of all humanity, they would not act like that.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
absolutely right. These are the, fears of the generations. When you see a particular group or particular thought, you try to attack it if you think, this is against you or something. And that is how it happens. Because this is a collective fear of the years, which is imprinted on your mind. And that is how you start reacting. As you said, the consciousness can make you wiser and can make you see things. But that comes very few people can really get enlightened to that thought. And they start, seeing things clearly. Okay, no, this fear is not real. And we have to get out of it and, not do exactly what we are doing. So, very enlightened thought is that, but very few people there in the world who are really, you can call enlightened and, who can lead the masses. Like you see Buddha, who sat under a tree and thought about what pain is. He thought about what pain is, why? Because what pain is causing the trouble in the world. He thought about it. Then he came out with his philosophy and the Ashtanga theories and all that. Okay, what pain is, how much it lasts, how long it lasts, what effect it has on yourself. But these are, maybe one in thousands or maybe one in million people, who really go beyond the unconsciousness and, really enlighten themselves with the real thoughts and, see the world the true way it is. So there are people who can lead people and get them out of this, but I don't see really that's happening in today's time. There people are actually taking advantage of the unconsciousness, what people are, and keeping them, sleep the way they are. Like Karl Marx also said, religion is a opium of the masses. People, there are so many, religion is not the only opium what we have, there are so many other, addictions which we have, and they keep us unconscious. There is a genuine effort by a lot of groups, a lot of people, a lot of individuals to keep you the way you are. Your awakening is frightening to them. So the way you are, you keep sleeping, and they will lead the way they are. They want to lead the world. When very unfortunate thing, but that is how it happens everywhere nowadays.
Yeah, you're so right. You'll be surprised, like you have seen in the West, most saints were like, chopped off.
Yes, yeah.
It's only, in India that, they're revered, because they are waking up people from the sleep. Because if masses are asleep, they can be exploited. And imagine like not long ago, there were people being sold. There was slavery, which was an accepted
Yes.
thing. And we were so unconscious, but we became little conscious. It's no longer there today. And we are questioning more and more. So as a mass, it's a slow movement. But as an individual, you have the whole freedom, to change your world. And even change, the whole climate on the planet. One person can, see what Buddha did also, one person. So we are given that power as well. And you don't have to actually change the world, actually, because every person who realizes his true self is actually affecting the whole universe. It is the greatest service anyone can do, that when you realize your true self, you realize from a higher standpoint that what is going on is actually perfect.
Yes.
This friction and this this strife is necessary for consciousness to evolve. It is actually required. So in some way, it is perfect.
You're absolutely right. There's a ancient poet called Rumi who said,
Yes.
when I started changing the world, I think nothing happened. But when I started changing myself, the real world actually changed. To that effect,
Yes.
something he said. I don't know the real words, but something to that effect he said.
And you can experiment with this, and you can see it for yourself.
Yeah.
You can see it for yourself. That when you really truly realize yourself, you see the miracle that is happening. You can only be grateful. You can only like bow down. Look at the intelligence in a plant, for example. There's a plant in a garden, a small one, like there's an orange flower that blooms. I think Anita was talking about the other day. It blooms just for a day, and then it wraps itself and then it falls.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
a perfect wrapping happens of this orange flower, and it falls. The intelligence, and the same intelligence. Imagine the profundity of it in you as a human. How much of that intelligence is operating, all the time. I mean, how the heart is beating by itself. I don't even need to breathe. The breath is happening by itself. The millions of cells that contain the memory and the DNA that has the history of whole of mankind in me. So it's mind blowing what's here. If we begin to explore and see and be grateful about, like it's tremendous. It's what can one say actually? I mean, what can one say? One can only be quiet. One can only contemplate in silence.
Yeah, the quieter you are, the better learner you are actually. The more you talk and more you try to express yourself, the less you learn.
Absolutely, because not just quiet in terms of words, but quiet inside.
Yes.
That is real quietness. And I will say, like, when you begin to be quieter, let's say you have like 60,000 thoughts, and you start to meditate a little bit, and you start to be more aware, and you reduce these 60,000 thoughts to like 50,000 thoughts, and maybe reduce them to 40,000 thoughts. Because if you chronologically put on all the thoughts in a day, you will see like 90% of them are like garbage.
Absolutely,
and the rest
yeah.
10% is rubbish. Okay, so more you reduce these, that will change the quality of your thoughts. You'll have more powerful thoughts, you'll have more precise thoughts, you'll have more effective thoughts, and your power of manifestation will improve, because we lose a lot of energy through thoughts. The finest things that become of food we eat, the finest thing that becomes of it is thoughts. And if we have like incessant thoughts like like this, we're just dissipating energy, and the quality of thoughts will also be weak, and it will also decay the mind. But if you can reduce that and think when you want to think, well, you have reached a very high level of evolution, when mind is a tool for you, and you think when you want to think, not like compulsively. Thoughts are coming. In fact, you're not thinking, it's happening. If you observe, you begin to observe, you see thoughts are happening. You're not thinking actually. Thoughts are happening to you. And if you begin to observe, you'll realize this. So keep coming back to the present, and restoring your energy or yourself, and begin to dominate the narrative of the mind. Then you start to come into yourself, into your more purer being, where mind is just a tool, not something that dominates and creates suffering for you.
Yeah, we all have heard that Zen story of that Zen master, where a disciple goes to him and says, "Okay, master, teach me." Master says, "Okay, just get this cup of tea and just sit there." And he starts pouring tea into the cup. And when the tea starts overpouring, the disciple says, "Master, what you're doing? There is no space for the tea in the cup now, and you're still pouring it in." The master says, "This is how it is. If you clear your mind, then only I can put the tea into that. Your mind is already full with so many thoughts and so many things and so many ideas. There is nothing I can teach you now. So unless you come with a clear mind, with a clear slate, and with a clear cup, I can fill the knowledge in that way." And that is how it is. So that's a very famous story. I think everybody must have heard about this.
Yeah, sure.
So it always reminds me, okay, whenever you go to learn something, you can't say, okay, yeah, I know this thing. Okay, yeah, I've read this here, I've seen this there, I've seen on YouTube and all that. Now, what more can somebody teach me now? Okay, yeah, okay, I have to just strap myself and go fly. Okay, I'll fly. But it is not like that. You have to completely, unlearn yourself, unlearn your knowledge, whatever you have got unofficially, and then start getting the actual knowledge, what is there. With all this is not only for flying, for everything in the world. You can just clear your mind and then start learning the things. Like when I was working with Hafiz Contractor earlier as an architect, he's a very well-known architect there. So once he was saying, what I asked him, why don't you take the experienced architects with you? He said, the thing is that I have to unlearn them first. I don't really have time to, so that's why I take the young guys whom I can, teach things and they can follow the direction which I want to follow. Otherwise, these new, experienced architects would come and they would not listen to what I want to do exactly. I want to lead this firm in a particular direction. I don't want these guys to come and then I have to make an effort to unlearn them the things which I don't really, find comfortable myself with. So
Yeah, very, very true. If you're not empty,
yeah, you
and
can't learn.
if there's no space there, then yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's no space. There is nothing you can fill in more.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Somebody else wants to come in, or we go back to Bhavin, or where are we?
Avi, a
Hi.
couple of
Hey, Achil. Good to
yeah,
see you, man.
yeah, good to see you too. Like a couple of thoughts to share. Like first off, I'll say that cleaning is probably like absolutely where it's at. Even though I might feel lazy or I might not do it or I might want delay it or procrastinate. Once I do it and once I am doing it, there's literally almost nothing better. And today being a Sunday, I've spent I think 5 hours cleaning inside out, like all sorts, and I really feel good about myself. Right? It's not just feel good; it's like feel good about myself. It's like now I can go to work and actually feel that I have done something, and hence my work also matters. I mean, so yeah, so I mean that has, I mean, for me, in terms of lockdown or Corona or like these things, this has been one learning for sure, where I feel more well-rounded now in that sense. And I think maybe us as a generation, it's a good thing for us that a lot of us would have been exposed to this. Even cooking, for example, very, very, essential life skills, right? So, coming back to, our, the things that you were saying. Uh, about the duality question, for example, right? So I would like to kind of add my version to that, and then maybe or like also ask a question at the end of it. So the way I would put it, it is like some things are really simple and other things are not, but everything is, everything is, right? So now something like a stone would be really simple as compared to something like a human being, and a bacteria would be somewhere in the center or something like that. And so as you progress from a stone to a amoeba to a so on and so forth, to a fish to a mammal to a human being, etc., you're getting more and more and more complicated, right? So life is nothing but the ability to reproduce, right? It's the ability to multiply, right? There is nothing else, right? It's just a random chemical reaction, whatever it is. It just like comes together and it just like throws out one more of its kind, right? Now everything else is your perception. Everything else is in your mind, right? So some things that reproduce maybe don't even have a mind. Maybe they have a mind of themselves, but not a mind like what we know of, not something that thinks in real time or so for them, yeah, so they're not even thinking, they just reproduce. For us, we're way more complicated, right? So now, like you mentioned, that we're breathing, our heart is beating, like the blood is pumping, and so many things are happening inside that we're not even aware of. So there's this whole machinery that's kind of operating by itself, and we're not even aware of it. And then there's like one part of it that we are aware of, that we think that we are in control of, and we think that that is us, right? That thing that we are in control of, we associate as us, whereas it's so much more that we might not even be aware of, right? So that's how I see it. I mean, everything is, but everything is not even conscious that it is, right? We are conscious that we are, but the part that we are conscious of is actually much smaller than what we are. Yeah. So that's how I would put that, and that leads to a lot of complications. Like given that there's so much that we can do, or there's so much power, mental, inside us, it's leading to a lot of these collisions and noise and a lot of non-productive just it is right. It's just happening inside, and that's why I mean that's also, I guess, slightly important to keep you occupied, but ultimately it's more important to know that that's not you, and have a more linear or stable or balanced you understanding of things, yourself and the world, right? Yeah. So now, yeah, coming back to the question that I had. So right, so your point is a lot of be in the moment, don't be don't think of so everything is a construct, right? I mean, everything that we do, a lot of the things that we do are materialistic in some sense. Like, you have to do a job, you have to go to school, and if you don't, then that affects like your self worth, your place in society, and what others very close to you also think about you. And so you kind of, I mean, in a way of saying it, and so you kind of have to do these things, and you're like stuck in a rut. So even if you have to go to a job, you just don't have to go to a job, you have to do well at a job, right? So now you do that better and better and better. When you get better, you have more responsibilities, and now you're like stuck and doing like a lot of it, right? But why are you doing it, right? If you know if you could just like sit and reflect and feel good about yourself, about the universe, and about everything, then why do all of this, right? But then why do anything at all, uh, right? So it kind of comes down to how much how much do you want to consume, right? So someone who would be doing this, someone who would identify himself as a Buddha, or who something like that, would consume much 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 lesser than what we do, right? So since they would consume so less, they would also need to produce like much less. They would need to earn much less, and that's how they would be kind of make do. Whereas people today, I mean, people like me, very we consume a lot, but hence we also kind of associate ourselves with how much we earn or we consume and things like that, and hence we need to do these things, right? Right. So now, okay, coming back. So one way that you feel good is, just by sitting and reflecting and thinking about nothing, right? Or just these things. And the other way, if you've heard of heard of this book called Flow, uh, some Russian author who has a complicated name, so I'm not going to try. But what he basically says is, it's the way to feel happy is to immerse yourself in things where you kind of feel zen, right? Like we're talking about cleaning or other things like that. So now then he kind of tries to come up with a mm, tries to come up with a structure where it will become easier to immerse yourself in things, right? So he's like, you need to have small goals, and then you need to have like larger goals, right? So like small goals are important because you need that dopamine every once in a while, that I achieve something, or I've done my bit, or whatever it is, every few days maybe, or and then at the end of it, you need a larger goal to kind of align these smaller goals. And so now my question is, right? So that is like one way that where people kind of feel good about themselves. They work their they just work like day in and day out, and that gives them not just work, even family. Like bringing up your family and everything. It kind of gives you that satisfaction at the end of the day. Or the other ways that where you kind of you don't need to do anything, don't do much, right? Just do your basic, be very close to things, what you would associate as, I don't know, something like a saint, wouldn't saint, not like a preacher, but like like someone who like lives by the river and things like that, right? um, so my point is, so I've kind of felt that I'm close to the one who's like more in the moment and not trying to achieve a lot of things, right? While also wanting to achieve when I'm doing those things, right? That not really giving me that much satisfaction, right? It's more of
We lost you there.
yeah. Sorry, I got a call.
Okay. Are you taking the call? Are you talking to us?
No. I'm back. I right. So my point is, if how do you kind of balance the ambition and the in the moment, right? Just in the moment probably might get kind of boring or monotonous after a while. So then you need to do some things and not those do some things, then that might be ambitious or and then you might be like, oh wait, is that what my life is about now, right? But yeah, but you get the question.
Yes.
Uh,
Very much. And I can relate to what you're saying. Like, I want to be in the moment, and yet there are things to be achieved. And do I say goodbye to stuff and go by a riverside and live like that, etc.
Yeah.
So what comes to me, is to begin with that if your consciousness is matured, we can see globally that we don't need to consume so much. We can live quite well, without consuming a lot. I think this might be a global learning for lots of people that we don't need a lot. We need quite not so much. Are you there, Achin? I see you're frozen.
No, I'm
Okay.
here.
Okay. So like I was saying, like this horizontal living where the mind is working, yeah, on the horizontal axis. My past, I've been doing certain things, and I'm good at certain things, I'm bad at certain things. I'm here today, and I'm moving towards a certain future. I have some achievements, some dissatisfactions, aspirations, ambitions. I'm inviting you to bring this vertical dimension into life, which means coming to the present moment, because present moment is a timeless moment. It is out of time. It is not in time. Okay. So more and more you bring yourself in the present moment in your daily life through practice. What does that mean? That means you are uh, stopping to identify too much with the narrative of the mind, and you're coming more and more towards your being. So there's the being and there is the doing. Okay. So the imbalance is that we are caught up with the doing. We have learned like that, our generation and plus minus whatever. In fact, for centuries, we identify with doing what we have achieved, what we want to achieve, and this is our identification. That is why the imbalance, and that is why no satisfaction, and nothing actually will satisfy us. Okay. So coming back to the being, which is coming back to the present moment, which is coming back to who you truly are, which is fine, which does not lack anything, which does not need something to satisfy itself. So more and more you spend time in the present with your being as pure consciousness, as awareness presence, you will realize that so much is not needed. And then slowly also, you will realize that your satisfaction doesn't need to come from outside things, from relationships, from achievements. You are already satisfied because you have realized who you truly are. Who you truly are is pure awareness, which does not lack anything. It cannot gain or lose anything. Consciousness cannot become better. It is already perfect. It is actually the substratum of all of existence. So when you spend more and more time in the present moment, which also means you spend more and more time with yourself as your pure self, then this narrative becomes less important. Also, the quality of what you do comes from another space now. Previously, you are operating with the backing of your mind. Mind has limitations. It depends on memory, the things that you know, and from there you are creating. But when you start to become more quiet, more in the present moment, you now access the vertical dimension of universal intelligence. And then the universal intelligence starts to assist what you are doing. And it kind of begins to even take over. And although you are participating, but you find your freedom. Like uh, initially, I was, going to the, dishes, and I was, a little resistant, and I didn't enjoy it so much. And then I asked myself, uh, who is it? Who is it that is resistant to this? Who is it who's not liking this? This is fine. Like water is flowing, and I'm cleaning, and it's a beautiful thing. And slowly, I don't identify with the action as a doer. I allow that to happen. I do it wholeheartedly and fully. It becomes more mindful, and I do a good job. And it becomes a source of direct satisfaction. I don't so much depend on the result to be happy about it. I enjoy the whole process. But that's how we've been living. We don't enjoy what we do because we have the result in mind. I need the money. Oh, that's why I'm bloody doing this. And oh shit, I have to do this. And it's quite a unconscious way of living. What am I doing when I'm doing that stuff that I actually don't want to be doing? But when you start to come in the present moment and you start to realize who you truly are, which is perfect already, then whatever you may be doing becomes enjoyable, because you are doing it from a place of freedom, and you're doing it from a place of uh, uh, completion, from contentment, and you change the whole game.
Mhm.
Does it make sense? But
Yeah, very much.
it will take some courage, because the conditioned mind will convince you, no, we have to do like that, because it has formed its kind of grooves. The neurons have formed those grooves in the brain, and you're so dependent on the mind that to start letting go of the mind now can be challenging in the beginning. But if you get small success, that can empower you to go in this direction of exploring the vertical, your deeper self, then you'll start to change the game. Okay, it'll start to become more effortless. It'll start to become more on auto, actually. It'll not be like uh, uh, so desperate, like we've been living till now, like so much dependent on the mind. But something else starts to support. The universal intelligence starts to support your endeavors, and you become more joyful, more free, and the whole game changes, like this. And you have to do it yourself. You can
Yeah.
let's say something is like troubling you, just come to the present moment. Like it's here, it's okay, it's actually fine, I'm okay, it's okay, let me do this. What the mind is telling, it doesn't relate to now, to the present, to the fact, to the real. It is just imagination. Okay, I don't have to listen to every thought, so fine. So like this, you start to empower yourself, not to empower the narrative. So
Right.
this conflict starts to reduce, and your being starts to dominate. And then mind is a little puppy which you use, and you will begin to then manifest what you actually want to be doing. You'll probably change your job, you'll probably go by a river. We don't know what will manifest from your true place. You're working from a truer place, not from a conditioned place, but from a more open space, from a more truer you. And then that will have energy, that will have a whole force of the universal intelligence with you, not just a limited conditioned mind solely depending on memory supporting your endeavors. It's too small, it's too limited. You're trying to like untangle this, free yourself, create this space, and live really beautifully.
Yes.
So yeah.
No, I completely get your point. and it does very much make sense. So right, so one dichotomy I'll tell you that I can think of, that in general, to lead like a nice balanced kind of life is like be in the moment, or just enjoy what you're doing, right? At work, very often things are very output oriented, very outcome oriented, right? It's not about how you do it, it's not about what you do, it's ultimately about what that number looks like at the end of the day. And that's it, right? It doesn't matter what you did. You might have worked your ass off, you might have really enjoyed it, your team might have bonded over it, but at the end of the day, that number did not reach that where it was supposed to, then it doesn't make sense. And if otherwise, you can completely feel about yourself, right? So I mean, of course, they're like different, again, like constructs, right? So you, I guess, have to tune out of all these constructs and remind yourself that you're still a human being. You're still yourself, rather than, and that's just your job, I guess. So probably that, yeah. Just a thought there that yeah, somehow just try to enjoy that also. Uh, I see that as the dichotomy sometimes, and you start living, you start almost living your work sometimes. So then, yeah. So yeah, I thought that.
So this is also a thought, that mind is saying, like, but come on, like, they need, figures, and you don't have to listen to this, also. Uh, you in the present moment is actually fine. You'll start to discover that, and when I say present moment, if you look, when you start to live in it and you start to, explore more, what is present moment?
Mhm.
There is no you and present moment. You will realize you are the present moment. All this that you are perceiving, it is inside your consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you however uncomfortable it might be, you keep pulling yourself to the present moment. You're coming to the you're coming real time with the universe. You're coming to the reality of things.
Mhm.
Okay, no imagination, no concepts, no ideas, real. Initially it'll be maybe not even pleasant, but that's okay. I want to be truthful, I want to be here, I want to be real. You make friends with the present moment, because even the future will have to come to the present moment. Okay, and if you are friends with the present moment, whatever comes, oh wow. So don't listen to the mind suggesting you, it's okay to talk about present moment, but actually, fuck it. Uh, don't think it'll work like this. Don't listen, it's a thought. Uh, it's fine now. You're fine. You're always fine.
Mhm.
You're always perfect. There's nothing wrong really. Okay. If you keep coming back, pulling yourself to the present moment, okay, and make your mind so malleable, so fluid like water, that if you can be happy in the present moment, uh, well, everything will unfold as the present moment, which is fine, which is a happy situation.
Correct.
You are depending on things to work out for you to be happy. But what if you discover yourself as happiness itself? You don't depend on things anymore. Okay, and if it so works out that they kick you out, maybe good. you know and if you bring yourself again to the present moment and work at that time, maybe it's you start to kind of enjoy what you're doing, which the present mind says, like, it's just bullshit, and you have listened to these thoughts and made it miserable for yourself, because the mind has convinced you, oh, it is shit work, it is really bad. But don't listen. You can actually enjoy that. How did you start to enjoy cleaning, for example, like, or washing dishes, for example? How did you make that joyful? Just because you change the environment inside you. And you'll be surprised. Maybe you go and you're bloody happy and you're doing even better. Or maybe you get kicked out. You don't care. You be here, and you experiment with this. Because one should think be very clear, like, what is your highest priority?
Mm.
What is your highest priority? If that is clear, if freedom is my highest priority, then you will get that. And if that salary is your highest priority, then you'll get that, and you'll have to pay the price or whatever. But if you're working for your freedom, if you're working for liberation, then let that be your highest priority. And whatever actually is happening around you is designed to serve you, to support your liberation and your awakening. It is the universe is here for you. It is not against you. It is here to support you in any and every way which you can. It is the signal, that the vibration that you are sending to the universe. It will create things according to you, according to that. And if you've decided, my freedom is my highest priority, my number one thing, you see, the world will transform according to that. So courageously experiment and see it for yourself.
Thank you
And
for that.
yeah, we can talk anytime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bhavin, you want to quickly shoot, or it's time already as well?
Yeah, I think we will have more conversations, so I'll hold
Okay,
on.
so thank you so much. I really enjoyed myself. I hope you had a good time, and let us know, like, if it was good, so we can plan some more. And leave us a comment if you think it was enjoyable and you'd like us to organize such more sessions. And it's a joy to meet you. So nice to see you. And of course, the love is pouring because we've been separated by this situation. And see you again. Love you so much. We in Templepilots, Anita and me, we keep